And we are back here at 7:07 a.m. and as promised, in the studio, live with us, the president of West Texas A&M University, and that would be Walter Wendler. Good morning, Mr. President.
Oh, you can just call me Walter, but I appreciate that. Good morning to you guys.
I want to start. I have a friend that went to West Texas A&M, and he was a guy I met when I went to Tarleton a long, long time ago. But I believe he graduated with his master's degree from there, and he's in sciences, and he's a great guy. So, I mean, y'all, it's a smaller university.
Yep.
We were talking during the break. It's a D2 university, but y'all have master's degrees. Y'all have a whole array of things that are available for students.
We do. The scale of it's different, but we're at about 10,000 students, just a tad over 10,000 students. We have 2 doctoral programs on the campus, one brand new in education, and I'd like to talk about that for a minute in just a second, and the other is a PhD in ag. We have a tremendous ag sciences program.
Yeah.
We've just spent $100 million on new buildings related to ag science.
Wow.
It's a huge investment.
Now, you're part of the Texas A&M system.
We are. Yes, we are. We're one of 11 institutions in the Texas A&M system. And I like to think we're the second best, but we are a very good university, but smaller.
Well, you know what? I have to admit, I'm surprised. I did not realize you had 10,000 students. I didn't know you were that big.
Yeah.
That's and again, obviously you're in the footprint of Texas Tech, and I'm sure it overshadows, at least in this part of the world, overshadows West Texas A&M. But it's a good school. You guys have been there a long time, and
actually a little bit longer than Texas Tech. I mean, just for comparison's sake, 1910. So we started.
Wow.
And Tech started, I forget when, but a few years
23.
26, 23?
Officially 23.
Yeah.
But it's a good, and it was a teachers' college. That's what that was its primary role, and they turned out teachers. Actually, in the top 26 counties of Texas, what I've referred to as the Panhandle proper. In the top 26 counties, 72% of the teachers and administrators in the public schools in the top 26 counties have at least one degree from WT. So, we educate the Panhandle.
Yeah, I was going to say. So, and then even more importantly, they're staying.
A lot of them stay. As a matter of fact, we have just finished, we finished it now about a year ago. A long-range plan for the university is called WT 125. And the purpose of this plan is to try to lay out a course of action that will position us in the year 2035 when we reach our 125th birthday. Sorry for all the numerology, but it is what it is. We're trying to get to a place where we are a regional research university. We're serving the Texas Panhandle and to some extent the High Plains. We're serving this area, and we're not running away from it. No. We're running straight to it.
Well, and I'll tell you, in ag science, y'all are in a great location for that.
Oh yeah. There are within 100 miles of Canyon, Texas, there are 6 million beef critters. That's a lot of animals.
Yes, it is.
There's no other place like it. As a matter of fact, we announced a new 2+2 program with the vet school at Texas A&M University, where students would do the first 2 years up here and the second 2 years down in College Station a couple of weeks back. And the president of Texas A&M University, a fellow named Michael Young, was here for the event, and we were standing around looking around there, and of course this, it's the Panhandle. It's pretty open and flat and so on. And we were standing around, and I said, it probably looks kind of empty to you, doesn't it, Michael? And he said, well, a little bit. And I said, but we've got something you'll never have in College Station. Never. I said, within 100 miles around here, we've got 6 million beef critters within 100 miles. And I'm telling you, a bunch of hogs and dairy cows and other things, too. So the fact of the matter is, our location, we look at this as a great positive, but it causes us to focus sharply on what we can do up there, because we're not going to teach urban design. I'm an architect by training. We're not going to teach urban design at a place like WT. So it's not going to be there.
How much? How many of your students, for example, just springboard to go to Texas A&M?
Well, a pretty good number. In certain fields, it's remarkable. We have 50 students right now in the pre-vet program up there, and many of those will go to Texas A&M. And we have various pipeline programs with actually every college on the campus at Texas A&M where students they don't get so much special consideration, but we have arrangements where the colleges at A&M work to take some of our graduate students in various graduate programs. So there's a lot, and a lot of them do undergraduate work at WT, for example, and then go to Tech, just like a lot of Tech undergraduates come up to WT in certain areas, like in education. We just finished, we've just implemented, just set it up, a new doctorate in education, and it's intended to be focused on small schools. We have a lot of schools up in the Panhandle, just like you do around Lubbock. Not in Lubbock, but you get out in the outskirts, away from town. And the fact of the matter is we've got a bunch of schools that will have pre-K through 12. That's 13 grades, and they might have 110 or 120 students in them. It's like homeschool.
4 or 5 graduates per year.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you a story. This is
20 is a good one.
Listen, I'm telling you what. I went to visit Headley, Texas. This was a few years back when I made this first visits to all these high schools. And a woman came up to me after the talk. It was an evening thing. And she said, I have a complaint about the admissions process at West Texas. And I thought to myself, I could tell she had a look on her face. And I thought, what is she going to tell me? She said, my daughter was the salutatorian at Headley High School, and she was denied admission to West Texas A&M University. So I looked at her and I said, how is that possible? She said, well, eventually she got in. It turns out that my other daughter was the valedictorian at Headley High School. 2 graduates.
Wow.
They had 2 graduates, and one of them was the best.
Listen, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back on the other side of this and talk more about West Texas A&M University with the president, Walter Wendler. We're back live this morning with the president of West Texas A&M University, Mr. Walter Wendler. Well, you're on a tour. You're obviously on a tour right now to talk to high school students. What in Region 17 is part of your program for recruiting students, I guess, next year?
Well, kind of. It's really not so much recruiting. We got a bunch of young people, I'd call them kids, 24, 25 years old, recent graduates. They go out and talk to students and encourage them to come to WT. Of course, I encourage that too. But what I try to get students to do, whatever they're going to do, if they're going back to a family farm or a ranch, or they want to go in the military, want to go to community college, want to go to a university, I try to encourage them to get a plan. I tell students, I'm going to Coronado here after a while, and I'm going to tell those kids over there, I hope the whole junior and senior class is there, I'm going to tell them, if you have to borrow 1 nickel for the first 2 years of your education, don't come to WT. Go to a community college and don't borrow any money. And they can't believe it. But I'll tell you, it's important. I had a friend, it's an acquaintance, somebody I met just a week ago at Lubbock High, whose spouse was a banker. And they told me this story that the woman that was the banker, the mortgage lender, said that they had had a home loan application come in on the couple of days before. Two physicians, and they couldn't give them a mortgage on a house. They had $600,000 in college debt. $600,000 in college debt. I have to say it twice because it's so remarkable. And yes, they're both physicians, but if they go practice in a small community.
Physician, okay.
Yeah, physicians. They're two doctors, and they couldn't write them a home loan. They couldn't. A welder would have a better chance of getting a home loan.
With 2 physicians, they can probably overcome $600,000, but
at some
take a
point.
while.
It's still
but it's going to take a long.
It's still a heck of a climb there.
It's a whole.
And you brought that up, and there's been some. I've been reading something about this, and there are some who believe that this is going to be our next catastrophe. We have $1.5 trillion out right now in student loans, and they're talking and a lot of doom and gloom. Possibilities.
The biggest problem is the default rate, because there's no you don't check for how much money they make. You don't check if they've paid their bills or anything in the past. you give it to them. And so a lot of these people, and then a lot of them don't end up with a degree.
Well, see,
and
but
if you don't have a degree,
this
how are
is
you
not
supposed
unlike
to?
the housing debacle.
It's the same thing. It's a housing bubble all over
Yeah.
again. Except with the housing bubble, there was fungible property.
Mm-hmm.
The bankers don't want you to default on the loan. They want you to make the payments and all
Mm-hmm.
that. But if you do, they can resell that house. And they might take a little bit of a beating on it, but they've got something. There's an old New Yorker cartoon. I've got it on my desk. And it's these two guys that look like bookies, and they're at somebody's door, and the guy comes to the door with a coffee cup, and it says, "We're here to repo your BA." And the joke is, there's nothing to repo.
Right,
And
that's
if you
exactly right.
get a degree, you can't,
Yeah, you made an interesting comment there. So so then it is much cheaper to go to a community college than to WT?
10 cents on the dollar.
Really?
10 cents on the dollar. And we work, for example, with South Plains College right here, and we transfer a whole bunch of students out of their pre-engineering program into our engineering program. And there's such a crowd of them that we actually keep track of their grades. They perform just like our native freshmen. They graduate in 4 years at the same rate, in 6 years at the same rate. They get the same kind of grades in differential equations, which are the kind of the math courses that beat people up in engineering. They do a fine job. They do just as well as our native freshmen.
So
at 10 cents on the dollar.
So is the tuition at West Texas A&M about the same as it would be to go to Texas A&M?
No, it's less. We're much more. Some people would say cheap. I don't like to use that word, but we're much more cost effective. Yeah, you can. Tuition for a year is a little over $8,000 per tuition.
Two semesters.
Yeah, per year, 1 year.
That's just tuition.
Right. So that's $32,000 for a 4-year degree. You put another $32,000 for room and board on there and fee, other things, and that's roughly $64,000 for a bachelor's degree. You can get associate's degrees, I'm telling you, for 10 cents on the dollar.
So let me bring this up. Also, after you graduate from a place like West Texas A&M, even if you went for 2 years at a community college, it still shows that you graduated from West Texas A&M.
Number one, and number two, it doesn't affect your starting salary. As a matter of fact, in a lot of ways, it increases your starting salary because you got 2 degrees. You have an associate's degree, and you have the. Now, what I would say to students is, and to the families who think about this, and I want them to think about it, what they should think about is to make sure that the courses they take at the community college will transfer to West Texas A&M in the program they want to study.
Yeah, and you would call an advisor there first.
They're absolutely to double check. And here's the problem. You take a course in math, and it may be good for history majors, but it's not good if you want to be a rocket scientist.
Yeah, there you go. Well, listen, we only have a minute or so.
Okay.
And I want to give you an opportunity in case we have not covered something that you want to mention.
Well, it's funny to leave on this, but I will leave on it. We just opened a brand new football stadium. We had a football stadium that was off campus. We just opened one on campus. Less than 2 weeks ago, had the first home game, sold out. First time a football game is sold out at West Texas A&M University in a long, long time. We haven't played football in 60 years. We're playing on campus, and it was a night to remember. And this football stadium is small, but it is high tech. We've got the fastest Wi-Fi in the United States of America right now of any football stadium at any level. It's faster than any NFL teams. It's a hot Wi-Fi.
Fantastic.
Everybody in that stadium can watch a Netflix movie and get instant replays on their cell phone at the same time. Everybody. The pipe is huge.
Ah, that's great. Listen, we got to run, but this is Walter Wendler, who's the president of West Texas A&M University. Good to have you, and
Thank you,
best
gentlemen.
of luck.
Thank you.
guys
I appreciate it.
A great asset to this part of Texas.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. That's very kind, and we appreciate it.